This guy is a one-punch man with hair. Even when enemies attack him with swords, he doesn't feel anything. With just one punch, he can destroy everything. And the best part is, he is only level 1. All of this chaos started simply because a young man was minding his own business, taking a peaceful stroll down the street. That was apparently enough for the old man to decide that the young man was the perfect target to ruin. Before he knew what was happening, the old man scooped him up like a stray kitten and dumped him into a busted, miserable cave. And then came 20 years of training. By training, of course, he meant daily torture sessions plus a gourmet diet of suspicious bugs he called specialty protein. And as if that was not enough, the old man loved jumping out from behind rocks to beat him senseless for no reason at all. But after 2 decades of pure suffering, he finally reached level 99. When the old man saw those stats, he finally announced that the training was over. Ju Hyuk burst into full dramatic tears. He dropped to his knees and bowed so fast he almost dug a hole in the floor. Then he looked up and saw that the old man was dead. Just gone. No warning. No goodbye. No emotional build-up. Did he feel sad? Not even a little. In fact, he felt a tiny spark of joy. After all, this entire nightmare was happening inside a game world, and the scary old man was nothing more than an NPC. Who would have thought an NPC could torture someone for 20 years? But at least the nightmare was finally over. He opened his status panel with the excitement of checking a lottery ticket. Seeing those top-tier stats, he let out a breath of relief. These 20 years of beatings were not a total waste. Then he noticed something awful. His luck value. Negative. Why? Why is my luck negative? What did I ever do? Did I anger a divine pigeon? He sighed deeply. Forget it. First task is leaving this cave of trauma. But right as he stepped forward, the system suddenly exploded with alarm sounds like a cheap sci-fi movie. Dozens of bright red warnings surrounded him. Player data anomaly detected. Starting level formatting. He froze in horror. No. Stop. Absolutely not. Before he could do anything, his level plummeted at insane speed. In a second, he was back at level 1. He stood there mentally lying face down on the ground. This is it. My life is over. Just bury me right here. Then a thought struck him. A desperate, hopeful thought. He quickly reopened his status window, and his eyes widened twice their size. His level was reset, but all of his max level attributes were still there. Wait, only the level was reset, and all the overpowered stats stayed. This is absurd. This is beautiful. This is the best glitch in history. A triumphant grin spread across his face. Level 1 body. Level 99 power. The Olympus continent is not ready for this chaos. He dusted himself off, marched to the cave exit, and declared with absolute confidence, an Olympus continent, I, Ju Hyuk, am finally coming. Olympus was a virtual reality game created by an artificial intelligence named Zeus. Its popularity was not just due to the immersive experience. It was because every item in the game could be brought into the real world, giving players wealth and social status. The fastest way to climb the ranks was simple. One had to grow stronger. Step by step, the scene shifted, and Ju Hyuk had successfully arrived at the novice town. Excited, he could hardly wait to head to the hunting grounds and start leveling up. He set off cheerfully toward the city exit. But just as he reached the city gate, a soldier stopped him. The soldier's expression was serious as he asked what level he was. Ju Hyuk, still confused about the situation, answered honestly, he was level 1. The soldier shook his head. New player, you are heading in the wrong direction. You should leave through another gate. This is the west gate. It is far too dangerous for someone like you. Ju Hyuk glanced outside the city and asked whether this area was off limits. The soldier's patience thinned. It is not that you cannot go out, he said. I am just warning you. The lowest level monsters here are level 5. You would be better off training somewhere safer first. However, before the soldier could finish, Ju Hyuk casually stepped out of the gate. Just 2 steps in, the system suddenly popped up a message. Gardener's anxiety quest activated. Reward 30,000 gold coins. Ju Hyuk thought to himself, so they are this worried about me. Fine, I will show them what I can do. He called out to the guard. Guard uncle, look over here. At that moment, a red rabbit appeared behind him, mouth open in attack. The guard's face tightened, and he asked what Ju Hyuk was looking at. Ju Hyuk smiled and replied, Uncle, do you mean this? With that, he threw a punch, striking the rabbit as it lunged. In an instant, the creature exploded and died. Quite a temper for a little thing, he mocked. Come at me together if you dare. One by one, red rabbits charged at him, and each fell to a single punch. The guard watched, jaw dropped. Is this really a level 1 new player? Then, a higher level wild boar appeared. Just as the guard stepped forward to intervene, Ju Hyuk stopped him and sent the boar flying with another punch. After clearing all the monsters, the guard asked again, astonished, did you say you were only level 1? Ju Hyuk grinned mischievously. Are not guards supposed to be able to see a player's information? The guard looked utterly confused. The level level is correct, but this is impossible. Just then, the system chimed. The quest had been completed, and 30,000 gold coins were deposited. After giving the guard a friendly farewell, Juhyok headed toward the advanced hunting grounds. Cheating had never felt so satisfying. It seemed that from now on, things would go smoothly. 3 days later, however, Juhyok unexpectedly ended up with a bounty. The system had marked him as a red name player for being involved in a murder case. Even though he did not resemble the real culprit at all, opening his attribute panel, he tried to figure out what had gone wrong. The only plausible explanation was his extremely low luck value. During this time, various players and even non-player characters attempted to ambush him, but Juhyok detected every approach. He reflexively countered their attacks to survive, left with no choice but to strike back. Every one of his actions ended up recorded by the system. Consequently, his red name status was upgraded to the highest level. He became wanted across the entire continent. Maximum chaotic penalty applied. 100% equipment drop rate on death, 90% reduction in experience gained, 100% decrease in non-player character favorability. From that point onward, players and non-player characters across the continent hunted him relentlessly. They shouted for support, insisting that the murderer Getrok could not be allowed to escape. Juhyok ran desperately, feeling speechless. Who exactly is Getrok? For the following days, he hid deep in the forest, trying to avoid detection. Becoming a hero was clearly impossible now. Perhaps being a villain was the better path. After all, he had maximum level attributes. Being the top villain might not be so bad. Then, something happened that completely overturned Juhyok's worldview. An old man led a group of people kneeling before him, saying that they paid their respects to the absolute ruler of the Sky Demon. The leader stared at Juhyok. To actually meet a descendant of the absolute ruler, he said, I can die without regrets. Still completely confused, Juhyok watched as another system message appeared. Quest return of the absolute ruler. Difficulty 3-second level. Objective gain recognition from the 12 elders. Juhyok's heart sank. A 3-second level quest required the effort of an entire nation, and now he had to face it alone. A thought struck him suddenly. Could it be that everything from being imprisoned 20 years ago to being hunted now had all been part of a larger quest storyline? Protagonist began to carefully read the quest introduction. These elders were so respectful, skipping the storyline would feel wrong. It turned out the absolute ruler they spoke of was Schultera, the strongest person on the continent at the time. During a rebellion, he fell for a honey trap, became disabled, and hid in a cave, barely surviving. Juhyok guessed quietly, could my master be Schulterer or one of his descendants? And everything he has learned in the past 20 years, could it all be Schulterer's skills? The quest then popped up, gain recognition from the 12 Sky Elders. Failure to meet the requirements would bring dire consequences. Juhyok felt a wave of dread. Will they delete my account and make me start over? He pushed the thought aside. Forget that. One step at a time. Things can't get any worse than this. He looked at the elders standing beside him and asked, Are you the elders of Sky Demon? The white-haired elder at the front kowtowed deeply and said, You actually recognize us? Our protagonist thought, Recognize you? I only just heard about Sky Demon. Still, it seemed this elder would support him. All he needed now was to win over the remaining elders. Since that's the case, let's move out, he said. The elders nodded solemnly. We've already cleared the small fry nearby. We can depart whenever you are ready. Protagonist led the elders through the forest, gradually reaching level 9. Because of the red name penalty, leveling was painfully slow. If things continued like this, the elders might begin to waver. There was only one way forward. He called Elder Luxo, the white-haired leader. Elder Luxo, there's something you must know. Although I received my master's true teachings, that power was temporarily sealed. But you must trust me. One day, I will lead you all to the peak. The elders were visibly moved by Juhyok's passionate words. They bowed once more, saying, Lord, absolute ruler, long live. 8 hours later, the scene shifted back to the real world. Juhyok frantically drank water after spending so long in the virtual pod. His sister spoke up. Our alliance received a mission to hunt a murderer named Getrok. Protagonist nearly choked. Is she talking about me? He relaxed when she continued. The Getrok she mentioned was a level 40 player who wielded dual guns. Capturing him could earn 3 million in rewards. Still, Juhyok suspected his sister was being shortchanged. In his memory, that bounty should exceed 100 million. She added, Our small alliance can only do so much. It's already a lot. Anyway, once I get the reward, I'll treat you to barbecue. Eat as much as you want. Counting on your barbecue. I'd probably starve if I don't help. Better go assist her, Juhyok thought. He entered the game and saw a message from Elder Luxo. Master, I've detected someone tracking us. What shall we do? Juhyok replied. We don't know their intentions yet. Let's observe for now. The next second, a surge of killing intent came from behind him. I finally found you, you imposter. Imposter. Could it be dual guns? Juhyok realized it was the wanted player Getrok, the same one his sister mentioned. You noob dare to impersonate me. You've got some nerve, Getrok taunted. Feeling the level 40 player's killing intent, Juhyok was momentarily intimidated. 30 levels above him, he might really die. Then he thought quickly and shouted, "Elder Loxo." With his loud call, Loxo appeared instantly in front of him. Get Rock was taken aback. When did this old man appear? I didn't even sense him. Jiayok commanded, "Behead him." Get Rock scoffed. "It's just a noob and an old man. Stop bluffing." Protagonist smiled faintly. "I didn't expect you still had time for idle chatter." Before he could finish, Get Rock's head had already fallen to the ground. Loxo slowly sheathed his sword. Jiayok stood frozen. What just happened? Weren't they saying Get Rock was level 40? How could he fall so fast? I didn't even see Loxo move clearly. Loxo handed Get Rock's head to Protagonist. He broke into a cold sweat, taking it helplessly. "This elder is far too strong." The system then popped up a message, "Completed Get Rock's bounty. Reward 100 million gold coins." This isn't a dream, right? I got rich this easily. Most importantly, Jiayok realized there were 12 people in this world as strong as Elder Loxo. They cut through thorns and branch, clearing every obstacle in the forest for Protagonist, all to complete that legendary quest as quickly as possible. Just like that, before he knew it, Jiayok had reached level 13. For ordinary people, achieving this would take at least 4 or 5 years. With his bodyguard squad, it was practically cheating. Yet now a tricky problem had arisen: how to handle this bounty target. Since he was red-named, no trading post would allow him in. It seemed the only option was to ask his sister, Xia, for help. As soon as Xia came online, Jiayok immediately sent her an invitation, urging her to come to Hunting Forest to meet him. Entering the forest alone for the first time left Xia nervous, but the moment she saw Jiayok, her heart nearly leaped out of her chest. "Bro, what are you doing? You almost scared me to death," she exclaimed. Looking closer, she noticed his body radiated a terrifying aura of death. "Bro, what exactly did you do? Don't tell me you killed NPCs," she said. Jiayok awkwardly scratched his head. "This is really hard to explain. Just take this first." Xia stared in disbelief. "Is this the head of that wanted criminal Get Rock? It's worth 100 million. Are you seriously giving it to me?" Protagonist replied calmly. "Go exchange it quickly. When have I ever lied to you?" Soon, Xia arrived at a nearby town's trading post. The shopkeeper accepted the bounty with a smile. After verifying it, he said, "Congratulations on completing the mission. Here's the 100 million bounty." It was Xia's first time seeing such an enormous sum of money. For a moment, she didn't know what to do, wondering if it could buy every hamburger in the world. Before long, she hurried back to the forest and handed almost all the gold coins to Protagonist. He took them and said, "Weren't we supposed to split it 50-50? Xia replied with a gentle smile, "This is money you worked 2 decades to earn. 1 million in pocket money is more than enough for me." Seeing his sister's thoughtfulness, Protagonist felt genuinely touched. He hadn't expected it. Before he could respond, Xia quickly logged off. Watching her disappear, Jiayok sighed. Having a sister like her was truly a blessing. To ensure a better life for himself and his family, he needed to grow stronger fast. "Elders, it's time for us to take action," he said. An elder appeared immediately. "Yes, master," he replied. But not long after they began moving, someone locked onto them. Everyone looked. A voice called out, "Isn't that the top-level red-name guy? Let's take him down together. Our reputation will jump straight to hero level." The moment those words were spoken, 2 warriors clad in heavy armor burst out from the bushes. The noise they made was impossible to miss, and Protagonist noticed them instantly. He calmly said that if they stopped right now, he might consider letting them live. Unfortunately, they had no intention of backing down. Instead, they poured all their strength into a full-powered attack. Jiayok remained completely unscathed. He glanced at them and said that this was not supposed to hurt, and asked if they were tickling him. The warriors froze in disbelief. In their minds, they could only think that he had actually knocked them back. Before they could process it, several more people joined in and launched coordinated attacks. Even so, Protagonist simply stood in place, quietly enduring everything they threw at him. Attacks of this level likely could not even scratch his defenses. After letting them exhaust themselves, he finally spoke again and said that they were already done, and that it was now his turn. Although he had not learned any skills yet, his basic attacks were backed by maxed attributes. Whether they could endure such power was another matter. As his fist connected with one of them, the result was immediate. That person was sent straight to the respawn point, before he even realized what had happened. Seeing this, the fallen player's teammate rushed forward in fury, clearly trying to avenge his companion. Jiayok responded with another calm and effortless punch, knocking him aside just as easily. Judging from their gear, they were clearly tank-type players, yet they fell as if they were made of paper. The remaining members of the squad were left staring in shock. Their ranger leader quickly shouted an order to retreat. However, Jiayok closed the distance in a single step, and asked if they really thought they could run, after provoking him first. The cowardly ranger was drenched in sweat and trembling in fear. What Protagonist had just used was teleportation, a rare exclusive ability only available to mages above level 60+. In their panic, the squad was wiped out with ease. Thanks to this battle, Jahyok's level rose to 16. At that moment, Elder Luxo, who had been secretly watching over him, finally revealed himself. With a serious expression, he said that there was something he needed to show him, and asked if Jahyok was willing to come along. Protagonist had never seen Luxo look this grave before. Something was clearly wrong. After enduring an entire month of travel through mountains and rivers, Jahyok's group finally reached a ruined and desolate village. I could not help but say that we had practically starved for a month just to get there. As we spoke, the villagers noticed our arrival. Everyone look, the Lord Absolute Ruler has arrived. At the same time, a system notification appeared. Side quest triggered. Rebuild the small village. I was already thin and weak from hunger. How was I supposed to help rebuild anything in this condition? At that moment, an elderly man stepped forward and said that the Lord Absolute Ruler had finally come and that he would explain everything. This village, it turned out, had been founded by the previous generation's Absolute Ruler and was also the birthplace of the Sky Demon's 12 elders. Unfortunately, the land itself was barren and impossible to cultivate. The elders had spent years traveling in search of the Absolute Ruler's descendant, leaving the villagers behind to suffer in poverty, often unable to eat their fill. After listening, Protagonist asked if they had endured all of this just to wait for him. The village elder nodded firmly and said that they had always believed the descendant of the Absolute Ruler would one day return and restore their former glory. A heavy sense of responsibility settled on Jahyok's shoulders. It was clear that feeding the villagers had to come before anything else. He immediately turned to Luxo and asked him to be honest. If they left this place as it was, how long could it survive? Luxo answered without hesitation and said no more than half a month. Jahyok then climbed a small hill and addressed everyone. He said that he knew how much they had suffered from hunger and that he also knew they had placed all their hopes on him. In the past, he had been focused on training and failed to take care of them. From now on, he would give everything he had. He told them to give him half a month and promised that he would resolve all of their problems. When his speech ended, the system displayed another notification. Sky Demon NPC favorability increased. Loyalty increased. Protagonist then told Luxo to come with him and instructed the other elders to remain behind. They would head out, hunt monsters, and gather every bit of usable loot. With Elder Luxo's assistance, completing this quest no longer seemed impossible. Just like that, half a month quietly slipped by. When Elder Luxo reviewed the battle results laid out before him, he let out a relieved breath and said, "Master, you actually managed to do it within half a month." Protagonist smiled after hearing this. Naturally, this was exactly what he had promised. The only issue was the lack of time, which limited how much he could obtain. Otherwise, the supplies packed in the sacks alone would have been enough to completely refurbish the entire village. Even so, none of this would have been possible without his sister Shia's assistance. She was the one who traded the spoils of war for food and essential supplies. Still, spending nearly 10 million just to set up 3 teleportation points was truly painful. The scene then shifted to another area of the village. Elder Erda sat in a foul mood. The village had fallen into such ruin, yet the Absolute Ruler had never shown any concern. Now he suddenly appeared and played the role of a savior. If he dares to fool us, I will rip him apart myself. Just then, a disturbance broke out. News spread that the Absolute Ruler had returned with a massive amount of supplies. Hearing this, Elder Erda quickly lifted the door curtain. The sight before him left him completely stunned. Canned food stacked higher than a person filled the entire room to the brim. Jahyok smiled faintly and said, "This is the food I prepared for everyone. From now on, no one will have to worry about going hungry." Erda was deeply shaken. How could he have gathered so much food in such a short amount of time? Villagers nearby rushed over as well, their eyes glistening with tears of gratitude. In the next moment, cheers erupted. Long live the Absolute Ruler. The Absolute Ruler is all-powerful. Watching this scene, Jahyok felt genuinely pleased. He immediately instructed the village chief to work together with Elder Lu to distribute the food to everyone. With the problems of food and clothing finally resolved, Jahyok decided to return to his room to rest for a while. At that moment, a voice sounded from outside. "Master, may I enter?" The person who came in was none other than the 12th Elder Erda. He walked in slowly, his eyes brimming with tears. Suddenly, he dropped to his knees and said, "Please forgive me. I harbored malicious thoughts toward you just moments ago. You are clearly our leader, yet I still doubted you. I truly deserve to die." At the same time, a system notification appeared. "Congratulations on obtaining Elder Erda's recognition." Protagonist was taken aback. He had not expected Erda's recognition to come so easily. Not bad. That meant he had gained another capable assistant. Erda specialized in invisibility, so Jahyok planned to head to that location first to test his attributes, bringing Erda along this time. When Elder Luxo learned of this, he looked like a neglected concubine, filled with regret. However, once they entered the forest, Juayok unexpectedly ran into a troublesome opponent, a massive black bear. The creature was enormous. Could it be the legendary giant bear standing beside him? Erda immediately took a combat stance and said, "Do you want me to deal with it?" This giant bear is a level 40 outdoor boss, and is usually challenged by full squads. Before Erda could finish explaining, Juayok clenched his fist and rushed forward. His punch landed squarely on the monster's head. In the very next instant, the giant bear boss collapsed and died on the spot. Elder Erda, standing nearby, immediately praised him. As expected of Master, that punch was incredible. At that moment, Juayok finally reached level 20. Turning to Aiza, he said that he planned to head to the dungeon, the Amantium Dungeon. This was an entry-level dungeon located close to the Novice City. Since the difficulty was fairly moderate, many alliances brought their students here to train. Given that even an outdoor giant bear had been taken down with a single punch, this dungeon would likely pose no real challenge. Several days later, Juayok and Elder Erda successfully arrived at the dungeon's entrance. Juayok said calmly, "Let's go in. While you follow me, stay in invisibility mode." Just as Juayok stepped into the dungeon instance, he encountered a group of academy students. After seeing Juayok, they panicked because he still carried the red name marker. At this time, their instructor immediately became serious upon seeing this. It's actually a red name player. He wore magnificent heavy armor and slowly walked toward Juayok, saying, "What are your intentions coming to this place as someone like you?" After hearing this, Juayok said with a mocking expression, "Who are you? Why so aggressive?" The instructor said arrogantly, "I'm an instructor of the Sacred Alliance. If you leave now, I'll spare your life." Then that instructor activated some kind of detection skill. The next second, his side displayed Juayok's information. "Arthur, level 19, no skills or items." He said even more arrogantly, "You're one of those red name players who specifically target students." Juayok was stunned after hearing this and said, "I'm just here to clear the dungeon. Let's just not interfere with each other." But the instructor gathered all the students behind him and said, "Everyone, don't be afraid. I won't believe his sweet words." Juayok felt speechless. It seems today he must test the Sacred Alliance's strength. Juayok said, "So we can't reach an agreement." He smiled. "What do you think I have to discuss with scum?" Then he drew his sword, assumed a battle stance, and said, "Don't bully students. I'm your opponent. When did I say I would attack students? I just want to clear the dungeon." Who knew that as soon as he finished speaking, the instructor thrust his sword at Juayok. Seeing this fierce attack, Juayok said, "If you take one more step forward, don't blame me for being rude." But the instructor had no intention of stopping. The sword struck toward Juayok's vital point. But the next instant, he found something was wrong. How is this possible? What did he do? The sword stopped precisely 1 inch in front of Juayok's abdomen, unable to advance. Juayok looked at him with wide eyes and said, "Is this the end? Now it's my turn." The instructor was shocked. Damn it, this kid is not a noob. So he immediately retreated to a safe distance, even requesting support from the Alliance. But Juayok couldn't possibly let him go. He chased with a punch, saying, "I just told you not to provoke me. Although I have no skills, I can use ordinary attacks." Then he punched the instructor's sword. A terrifying energy rushed toward the instructor. The next second, everyone present was swept into chaos by that violent energy. When the dust settled, Juayok slowly walked out from within. The instructor's figure was nowhere to be seen in the arena. Juayok walked slowly toward the group of students and asked coldly, "Does anyone else want to fight me?" The students shook their heads frantically, terrified of being targeted by this demon. Since that was the case, Juayok immediately left the place. After all, his goal this time was to clear the dungeon. However, this red name status was really troublesome. He had to find a way to remove it later. After exploring the dungeon for a while, Juayok found his target for this trip. It was the defensive fortress located at the center of the dungeon. Juayok remembered he had to destroy it first before reaching the dungeon's final stage. Looking at these skeleton soldiers, Juayok thought to himself, "Since I can't get equipment drops from killing monsters due to my red name, I might as well be direct." With that, Juayok vanished from his spot with a flash step. Thus, Juayok simply ignored the piles of skeletons and charged straight toward the fortress itself. A wall of this level should only take about 10 punches to destroy. The next instant, Juayok's fist hammered down on the fortress wall like an iron hammer. As a result, cracks spread out in all directions like a spiderweb. "Huh, what's going on? I broke through with just one punch," he said. "Am I the legendary one-punch man? Whatever. Let me just clear this first." Watching Juayok's figure gradually fade into the distance, the skeleton soldiers behind him shed tears of sorrow. Sometime later, the support squad from the Instructors Alliance also arrived at the location. Everyone was shocked at the scene before them. Isn't he only level 19? How did he break through the fortress so quickly? And he didn't even touch the skeleton soldiers. How on earth did he do it? Just then, a system message arrived. "The Amantium dungeon has been cleared." The squad members all cried out in shock upon hearing this. He cleared the final room so quickly. Meanwhile, in the final room, Protagonist was inspecting the clear crystal before him. After a pause, he muttered, "Let's see how tough this last crystal really is. Surely, it can't be destroyed with a single punch." Right then he swung his fist at it. In the next instant, a deafening boom echoed as the crystal shattered into countless fragments. Seeing this, Juhyok broke out in a cold sweat and muttered to himself, "Is there anything here that can actually survive my punch?" After clearing the dungeon, Juhyok used his upgrade points to reach level 20. Just as he was about to leave, the instructor support squad suddenly appeared, blocking his path. Juhyok remarked, "Wow, there are 7 of you now. That's more than I expected. Who would have guessed this moment?" One of them shouted, "Listen carefully, expert traveling with the red name player. We know exactly what you're after, but if there's a chance for peaceful negotiation, we're open to it as well." Juhyok was momentarily confused and thought, "Others are here with me, but I can't see them." It seemed they had underestimated his strength and assumed he must have a powerful backer. The person in front continued, "We don't want pointless combat. You can leave this time." Juhyok looked around. Indeed, a fight here would certainly endanger the students behind them. He said, "In that case I'll go. I never intended to fight anyway." Though he secretly wanted a sparring match, his main priority was reaching the next dungeon. Watching Juhyok walk away, the squad members started discussing among themselves. Instructor said, "Thanks to him, we avoided a disaster. Judging by his strength, he could probably take all of us down easily." Zergal added, "Indeed, I think there's a strong chance he's the legendary Rupendel." Rupendel is a legendary boss-level red name player, infamous for wandering around killing people for fun while farming their items. That guy is truly a nightmare for this continent. Meanwhile, Protagonist rushed back to the village immediately after leaving the dungeon. Next, he said he need to head to an area swarming with monsters. "Any elders with area of effect spells, come with me." Hearing this, everyone fell silent. Once again, it seemed they wouldn't be joining their master on an adventure. However, when it came to area of effect spells, this elder might be the strongest currently available. A purple-haired elder stepped forward and said, "Master, I will accompany you on this journey." Juhyok nodded in satisfaction. Seems like all the elders of Sky Demon are quite capable. A short while later, Juhyok brought the 6th elder to the dark wilderness. To his surprise, multiple squads were already stationed there, waiting for monsters to spawn. Turning to the elder, Juhyok said, "Elder Zeta, I'll be counting on you soon." Zeta's face lit up with excitement. "I obey your command, master." This elder seemed slightly twisted. Noticing the suspicious stares from the nearby squads, he added an extra command to Zeta. "If anyone here dares to interfere, eliminate them all." Before he finished speaking, a squad was already preparing to attack. Smiling slightly, Protagonist said, "Zeta, show them your skills." Elder Zeta displayed a chilling smile. "Don't worry, master. I won't disappoint you." Then Zeta began casting his summoning spell. Dark purple thunderclouds rolled across the sky as a massive magical beast slowly emerged. It gazed down at the crowd below and declared, "Those who block my master shall be killed without mercy." Controlled by Zeta, the beast began harvesting lives from the surrounding crowd with terrifying precision. Watching the scene, Juhyok's blood boiled with excitement. This was beyond exhilarating. At that moment, the system notified that player Arthur's murder sins had escalated, upgrading him to Slaughter Saint level red name. Juhyok could only stare in disbelief. "It's not even me doing the killing," he muttered. Red name players who kept slaughtering others would continuously raise their danger level. Once their infamy reached a certain threshold, they would receive the title Slaughter Saint. Players with the Slaughter Saint title would suffer reduced attack and defense when facing hero-type players, and their skill resistance would also drop significantly. After reading this information, Juhyok felt even more irritated. Forget it, he would just deal with the people in front of him first. Before long, Zeta had wiped out all the nearby players. At the same moment, a monster wave spawned. A herd of giant horned bulls came charging straight toward them. Juhyok spoke up, finally sounding relieved. "Elder Zeta, they are here. Are you all right?" The elder replied smiling, "Master, you can rest easy." Without hesitation, Protagonist rushed directly into the bull herd. It was time to completely clear them out. In the next instant, he clenched his fist and slammed it forward. The moment his punch landed on the bull's head, the creature was sent flying backward and never stood up again. The squad hiding nearby and observing the fight was utterly stunned by what they saw. That was just a basic attack, right? And that was not even mentioning the terrifying area of effect mage next to him. Being able to kill a giant horned bull with a normal strike meant his level had to be at least 50 or higher. The focus shifted back to the battlefield, as Elder Zeta leaped into the air and dove straight toward the herd. "For my master's great ambitions, you will all die here first." Zeta then unleashed a series of dazzling ultimate skills. Thick bolts of lightning rained down in rapid succession, instantly wiping out the entire bull herd. Witnessing this scene, Protagonist was completely dumbfounded. Isn't this way too broken? After the fight ended, Protagonist leveled up once again. The next step was gathering the dropped loot. This time, the haul was unexpectedly rich with rewards. However, just as Juhyok was about to leave, the system issued a warning that a boss-level monster had appeared behind him. The squad watching from the sidelines exclaimed in shock, "His luck is unbelievably bad." In the next moment, even more terrifying existence emerged, a mutated black giant horned bull demon king. Seeing it, Juhyok said calmly, he would take care of this one. Zeta should continue collecting the loot. Just as Juhyok prepared to charge forward, Zeta suddenly reported an abnormal situation. He had sensed a group of extremely powerful individuals approaching their location. Hearing this, Juhyok sighed helplessly. His boss-level gem had vanished just like that. Still, if there were enemies even the Elder was cautious about, retreating was the smarter choice. After retreating safely, Juhyok exited the game pod. While browsing through game news afterward, he came across shocking information. After Juhyok had fled, the remaining squad joined forces and successfully killed the mutated boss. To everyone's surprise, it dropped 90 top-tier gems in a single drop. Protagonist was so furious, he nearly spat blood. 90 top-tier gems were worth 450 million gold coins. With that amount, he could have lived the rest of his life without worries. Just like that, 450 million vanished. His luxury cars and mansions instantly turned into nothing more than illusions. After calming down, Juhyok decided he needed to grind harder and make up for this loss. The scene shifted to an office, where a man spoke up, saying he had heard a mutated gem appeared in the dark wilderness that day. The subordinate beside him nodded, and confirmed it was said to be a mutated monster with massive boosts to all of its attributes. At that moment, the young man seated at the head of the room smiled faintly. It was quite interesting. He ordered an immediate investigation, and mentioned that the red-named player who lured out the mutated boss had been repeatedly provoking their alliance. The following day, when Protagonist logged back into the game, he discovered that he had become the target of a public quest issued to everyone. Even the elders were completely shocked when they learned the news. They advised him that since he had already become the public enemy of the entire continent, it would be better for him to keep a low profile and stop wandering around freely. However, Juhyok replied that it was exactly because of this situation that he needed to quickly grow stronger so he could protect everyone. After hearing his words, the three Sky Demon Elders were deeply moved and could not hold back their tears. They never imagined that their lord would be so considerate toward them. Protagonist also understood that he could no longer take the elders with him, so he arranged for them to stay behind in the village. Unable to control their emotions, the elders tearfully waved goodbye as Juhyok left. As he departed, Juhyok thought that it was fortunate he had already won over 8 elders. Otherwise, he would not have felt at ease leaving the village in their care. With that, Protagonist began his leveling journey and slaughtered every wild beast he encountered along the way. Since equipment would not drop anyway, he treated each battle as practice. Unexpectedly, the system suddenly notified him that he had obtained a new skill, Weirdly Strong Fist, that reduces attack strength. Protagonist became excited and said that it was a skill that weakened his own attacks. At last, he would no longer kill monsters with a single punch. From now on, he only needed to purchase an attack-type pet, so that the pet could land the final blow and obtain equipment and items. Just as he was eager to return to the village to choose a battle pet, a voice suddenly came from behind him. "Finally found you." Juhyok was startled when he heard it, and wondered why the scene felt so familiar. The newcomer said that Juhyok was the one who caused him to bear countless ridiculous accusations. Because of that mess, he could not even hunt properly anymore, and demanded to know how Juhyok planned to resolve it. Protagonist turned to face the man and calmly asked who he was. The man stared at him in disbelief and questioned whether Juhyok had any conscience at all. Still confused, Juhyok replied that he truly did not know him. In the next moment, the man became completely enraged and shouted that he was Rupendel, the one whose identity Juhyok had been impersonating all this time. Protagonist responded that he had heard the name Rupendel from the people he had killed, but questioned when he had ever impersonated him. He even added that pretending to be a blue-haired hipster like him would be humiliating. Rupendel coldly stated that as long as Juhyok knelt down and admitted defeat, he would spare his life. Hearing this, Juhyok felt speechless and thought that Rupendel's logic was truly novel. Deciding that there was no point in continuing the conversation, he chose to fight instead. Without hesitation, Rupendel launched his attack and declared that if Juhyok wanted to die, he would grant that wish. Juhyok did not react at all. Rupendel unleashed his ultimate move, Dynamic Light Wave, yet when the attack landed, Juhyok's health bar dropped by only 3%. Protagonist mockingly asked whether that was supposed to be a scratch and warned that Rupendel should not die from a single punch. when it was his turn, activating skill Weirdly Strong Fist that reduces attack strength by 90%. Rupendel immediately sensed danger. This was the same skill that had eliminated an alliance member with one punch. In the blink of an eye, Juhayok appeared directly in front of him and warned him not to die yet. Unexpectedly, however, the punch was avoided by an item Rupendel activated. Juhayok was taken aback since this was the first time anyone had ever dodged his attack. Rupendel quickly retreated to a safe distance and felt relieved that his equipment and items were abundant. He reasoned that Juhayok could not continuously use such powerful attacks because every skill had a cooldown, and he declared that this was now his opportunity. He immediately charged forward again. With a loud bang, Juhayok's fist smashed squarely into Rupendel's arrogant face. The explosive force sent Rupendel flying backward, and a flood of system notifications appeared, showing that his equipment had been damaged. Cursing angrily, Rupendel realized that a single punch had destroyed all of his defensive items. He accused Juhayok of being devious, pretending to faint with the first strike, and then activating the skill on the second. At the same time, Juhayok's expression darkened as he wondered how many defensive items Rupendel actually possessed. Refusing to give up, Rupendel charged once more and activated his supposedly never-failing ultimate technique, Soul Reaping Snare. He taunted Juhayok by saying that his skill should already be on cooldown. Protagonist was startled because his skill truly could not be used again. However, since it had only reduced his attack power, he decided to release his full strength instead. Active skill deactivated. Damage output restored to 100%. Juhayok immediately threw a punch to meet the charging Rupendel. Their attacks collided in a burst of dazzling light, and in that instant, everything around them seemed to fall completely silent. After the light faded away, Juhayok slowly approached Rupendel, who was sprawled on the ground, and spoke coldly. Was he actually dead, or just pretending? Didn't he boast about being the strongest level 50 player, with no life-saving methods? Why would he recklessly rush forward? Was he stupid? At that moment, Rupendel, who had already turned into a soul, took devastating secondary damage just from hearing those words. Protagonist quickly sensed that something was off. Rupendel was also a red name player, so why had no equipment drop? After his death, even Rupendel himself was stunned by this outcome. A fully maxed red name player was supposed to have a guaranteed equipment drop rate. Then realization struck him, and he immediately spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. Hadn't all of his equipment already been shattered by his own actions? Those items were treasures he had accumulated over decades. After a brief pause, Protagonist also recalled what had happened and glanced at Rupendel's body on the ground, muttering that he should have restrained himself earlier, and that wasting all that equipment was a pity. A faint smile appeared on his face. Dealing with a level 50 player was clearly not an issue for him anymore. Now, it was time to put his plan into action. With that thought, Protagonist lightly leaped away and left the area behind, leaving only Rupendel's soul grinding his teeth in rage. However, in the very next second, his soul was suddenly sealed by an unknown skill. Rupendel was horrified. Even as a soul, how could he still be targeted and restrained? A figure completely wrapped in a cloak emerged and spoke with excitement, praising the unexpected gain of such high-quality soul material and remarking on his incredible luck that day. Rupendel instantly sensed danger beyond measure. What kind of monster was this person? Before he could think further, dizziness overtook him and his consciousness faded. When he awoke, a system notification appeared, stating that his soul had been imprisoned and would become permanently bound if not released. The cloaked man spoke eagerly, ordering his new slave to do 10 push-ups as a test. Just as Rupendel attempted to resist, a bolt of lightning suddenly descended from above, knocking him unconscious on the spot. Left with no choice, he obediently began doing push-ups nearby. Inside, he cursed silently, wondering what kind of terrifying skill this was. Could this person be a necromancer or some kind of hidden class? Despite that, the man seemed quite young. If handled carefully, perhaps he could be manipulated instead. With that thought, Rupendel spoke up, offering to help his master obtain even stronger souls. The scene transitioned to a forest not far away. Protagonist asked his sister Shia to purchase a batch of items for him. Curious, Shia asked why he needed so many low-level magic books. These were all low-tier universal spells meant for unclassed wanderers, and with his level, he should not even be able to use them. Juhayok simply smiled and said that even a small branch could become lethal in the hands of a sword saint. Afterward, Juhayok began learning those beginner spells. He remarked that with attributes this high, relying only on brute force would be a complete waste. When Shia realized that Juhayok had actually learned beginner skills, she exclaimed in disbelief and asked if he still had not changed classes. Upon receiving his confirmation, she cried out that she had quit her job just to depend on him in the game, and now he was telling her he had not even changed class. She said she did not care anymore and that he had to take responsibility for her until the very end. Jaehyuk responded calmly and confidently. He told her to relax and said that from this moment on, he would establish his own kingdom right there. Next, Jaehyuk prepared to test the beginner healing spell he had just mastered. He gathered a soft green glow in his hand, and in the next instant, Xia was wrapped in that emerald light. Vital energy surged through her entire body. Just as she assumed the test was over and reached for a health potion, Jaehyuk stopped her and told her there was no need and that she should check her status. She did so and froze in shock. Her health had already fully recovered at an astonishing speed. Even specialized priests would struggle to achieve something like that. Seeing how smoothly it worked, Jaehyuk decided it was time to test a support spell that boosted attack power. As Xia was still wondering where they could find a suitable target, Jaehyuk suddenly pointed behind her and told her that the target was already there and to turn around. Xia slowly turned, expecting perhaps another player, but instead found herself staring at a level 40 giant black bear. Terrified, she shouted and asked if this was not something that normally required a whole team. The massive bear roared and immediately charged at them. Yet within just 3 minutes, Xia defeated the ferocious creature all by herself. Jaehyuk spread his hands and asked if she believed him now. Later, while Xia was sorting through the bear's drops, she found a blue gem valued at 5 million. In the past, everything she farmed had to be handed over to the Alliance, but now she had earned 5 million in mere minutes. Jaehyuk chuckled at her inexperienced reaction and told her he would take her to the dark wilderness to really broaden her horizons. In one moment, she was a timid novice who knew nothing. In the next, she had transformed into the strongest mage on the continent. Because Jaehyuk secretly cast an attack-boosting skill on her, she now resembled a descending spell deity, unleashing devastation across the dark wilderness. Even Jaehyuk broke into a cold sweat witnessing the destructive power. It was far too overwhelming. When everything settled, only scattered bull souls remained. Xia rushed over excitedly to gather the loot. Holding a large pile of blue gems, she exclaimed happily that there were 18 blue gems. However, while Xia was still immersed in the joy of sudden wealth, Jaehyuk sensed something unusual. The dark wilderness was far emptier than before. He wondered if something had happened. Before he could think further, a sudden sneak attack broke his focus. Jaehyuk responded by using his strangely powerful fist, deliberately suppressing his strength to the minimum, and threw a punch while telling Xia to finish him. She reacted instantly and delivered the final strike. By doing this, even though Jaehyuk carried a red name, equipment still dropped. When Xia picked up the fallen player's gear, guilt surfaced within her. She felt like a bandit. Jaehyuk reassured her, explaining that since the other party attacked first, they could not just allow themselves to be killed. At that moment, a well-organized squad appeared in the distance, moving toward Jaehyuk. Their equipment was uniform, their formation disciplined, and their leader was clearly a level 50 expert. Seeing this, Xia panicked and asked if they were there for him and said they should run. Such an overwhelming presence was something she had never encountered before. Fear overwhelmed her, and tears welled up in her eyes. Jaehyuk, however, smiled calmly and told her not to worry and to act like she did not know him. He then stepped forward slowly and said that for just one person, they had really sent quite the lineup. Without hesitation, the squad captain gave the order to attack. As an imprisonment skill flew toward him, Jaehyuk scratched his head impatiently and said that he had already warned them. As long as they did not attack, he would not take their lives. He casually lifted his hand and shattered the binding chains. Immediately afterward, he launched the fireball spell he had just learned. The opposing captain stared in shock and realized it was beginner universal magic. The captain ordered all tanks to deploy magic shields immediately. Magic barriers rapidly formed, encasing the squad. He shouted that it was only a low-level spell and to block it, while ranged mages prepared their combo attacks. Yet the instant the fireball made contact with the shields, it detonated with a deafening explosion. Violent energy erupted, and blazing light lit up the entire dark wilderness. Jaehyuk sighed softly. Even he had not expected such terrifying power from a simple fireball. When the dust cleared, the Alliance captain stood frozen in disbelief. Every one of their elite tanks had been wiped out by that single spell. It felt impossible. He questioned how this could happen, and wondered if it was some kind of illusion. Weren't they told this guy was a useless noob who could not use skills? Jaehyuk thought to himself that this was the strength of his fireball, and that maxed attributes truly made a difference. Xia, who had witnessed everything, quickly sent him a private message filled with confusion. Jaehyuk replied honestly that he had not known the spell would be that powerful either. Jaehyuk remained standing still. Xia asked nervously if he was trapped. He replied darkly that he was waiting for the fireball's cooldown because he wanted to throw 2 more. Xia could only think one thing. It was over. Her brother was starting to become abnormal too. A system message appeared stating that fireball would take 50 seconds to cool down, and protagonist found the long cooldown extremely annoying. The enemy commander ordered the rangers to prepare a large-scale attack. He could not understand the situation. That kid was clearly a mage, not a fighter. A white-haired knight with gold shoulder pads and a blue cloak stepped forward. Through whispers, urgent support was requested. The target was not Mali, and they needed a tanker capable of deploying a level 30 protective barrier. Alliance President Johnson Jin arrived with his knights. He learned that 3 people were already dead, but the damage was limited due to Ju Hyaok being bound and having long cooldowns. Still, Johnson realized the information they had received was wrong. The boy was far more cunning than expected. Believing overwhelming force was necessary, the commander ordered continuous ranged attacks. Arrows, musket fire, and explosions bombarded Ju Hyaok's position. The commander smiled, confident that binding the enemy and attacking relentlessly was enough to defeat any mage. Then protagonist suddenly leaped into the knights and killed one with a single blow. The commander was shocked. The cooldown was over. Ju Hyaok grabbed a knight, used fireball at point-blank range, and charged forward, smiling as explosions erupted behind him. He laughed, saying he was repeating himself, and warned them that if they did not attack first, he would move again. Panic spread as soldiers shouted that he was a magician and ordered a retreat. The president stepped in, took command, and shared the promotion quest, summoning nearly 200 knights. He believed Ju Hyaok was alone and exhausted. Ju Hyaok glanced at his HP bar, disappointed that it had barely dropped. Compared to Rupendel, these enemies were far too weak. Even when damaged, his recovery rate was overwhelming. Surrounded on all sides, Ju Hyaok calmly fought on. Xia watched anxiously. Ju Hyaok whispered to her to attack him as well, explaining that otherwise she would look suspicious. After some hesitation, Xia used Lightning Strike. A system message appeared stating that Ju Hyaok was brutally destroying his enemies. Soon after, purple system messages appeared. His assassin's mark darkened. His sins were aggravated. The heavenly Death Star awakened. A massive purple window appeared, topped with a black goat's skull. The rank granted increased damage and defense in player versus player combat, increased growth and experience during player killing, and reduced penalties against hero-ranked players. Protagonist sat on the ground smiling, surrounded by a black aura, wondering if he now looked like a devilish assassin. He continued slaughtering knights, realizing that the deeper he sank into sin, the stronger the heavenly devil's loyalty became. When questioned whether he was a magician or a fighter, Ju Hyaok smiled and replied that he had no class at all. The president's face turned red as he continued to yell angrily at the protagonist to get ready. He would definitely find his weakness and finish him off. In next second, protagonist was standing in front of the defeated president and the commander. Suddenly, Ju Hyaok turned around and saw Xia on his left, whispering to him and asking if she could do some experiments with him. Ju Hyaok answered with a puzzled expression, asking what she had gotten. Xia, looking into the distance, said that it seemed she had received a special professional quest. Later, Ju Hyaok and Xia entered the Romania dungeon. Xia tested her full strength against him, unleashing spell after spell. After an hour-long assault, Ju Hyok's HP dropped by about 30%. He thought that it felt a little tingling. Although he had used a buff, the feeling was similar to Rupendel's death move. Xia, furiously looking ahead, she discovered that Ju Hyaok carried the title Heavenly Death Star and began the process to counteract it. Suddenly, skeletons emerged. As Xia stepped back, her body glowed blue. System messages declared that the Heavenly Death Star had escaped and that Xia had completed her class conditions. Her staff and clothes transformed. A final system message appeared stating that one of the 7 holy thrones had been occupied. Xia stared ahead in fear and asked softly if she was now sitting on the holy seat. The scene shifts to the city outside the game. Inside the meeting hall, the Alliance President John Dream stepped onto the stage and thanked everyone for attending. His expression soon hardened as he revealed that the Alliance had suffered a severe setback. Due to false intelligence, the operation to capture protagonist had failed, causing traitors to withdraw and leaving the Alliance critically weakened. As a consequence, emergency staff reductions became unavoidable. Discontent spread through the hall as employees whispered among themselves, blaming the growing chaos, the appearance of black monsters, and the steady decline of the economy. Acknowledging their frustration, the president announced that the quest would not be abandoned. Although he could not say when it would resume, he promised that once it was completed, everyone involved would receive promotion points. He hoped this assurance would ease resentment, and concluded by saying he wished to see them again under better circumstances. Later, the president rested inside a secured chamber, quietly assessing the situation. Reducing personnel had limited the immediate losses, but restoring relationships with partners was far more important. As he lay there, a system notification appeared, indicating a connection to Olympus. He understood that once reputation was lost, It was extremely difficult to recover. Decisive action was necessary. Together with the Alliance directors, he resolved to secretly invest enormous funds to suppress the chaos threatening their survival. After arriving in Olympus, the president approached a bartender known to be connected to the underworld. He requested the services of Selmac and placed 1 billion gold on the counter as an advance payment. The bartender accepted the request and promised results within 3 days. As the president left, the weight of the cost settled heavily on him, 10 billion in total, with 7 billion designated as the reward. While traveling through a forest and stepping beyond the safety of a protected zone, death came without warning. The president's head was severed in an instant. A system alert declared that he had become prey. Existing only as a spirit, he watched as a masked man surrounded by red energy dropped a map beside his corpse, the unmistakable mark of black flowers. The assassin calmly informed him that an indefinite execution order had been placed on him. Elsewhere, a Black Flowers operative reported the mission's success. Their leader decided the circumstances demanded his direct involvement. This man was Second Elder Yorhan, who had spent 30 years forging his organization in service to the Absolute. Clad in black attire, wearing a mask, and carrying a blade radiating menace, he set out to confirm whether the rumored absolute ruler truly existed. Jayok soon encountered Xia. Communicating through whispers, he questioned how she had surpassed level 30 so quickly. Smiling, she explained that she had changed her class and awakened as the 7th Holy Throne of the Moon, a pure white wizard, now at level 31. Her throne status allowed her to grow without promotion points, resulting in unusually rapid advancement. Jayok immediately sensed the danger. Though he wished only for a quiet and peaceful life, his sister's overwhelming growth made such a future unlikely. Because of their previous involvement in large-scale PvP within the Desert of Darkness, they relied on whispers and concealment items to avoid recognition. A system notice suddenly identified Xia as a platinum rank hero, leaving him unsettled by the implications of the title. With playful honesty, his sister admitted that she wanted to kill him once in order to complete a special quest, promising to share the reward afterward. Disturbed but resigned, Jayok replied that if he were ever destined to die, he would rather it be by her hand. Delighted, she eagerly agreed. Several days later, the siblings hunted together and defeated a giant black bear, successfully clearing the dungeon. Jayok found himself just short of level 40 and decided to remain behind to defeat a few more monsters. His sister left briefly to restock potions and supplies, assuring him she would return soon. As Jayok stood alone, a voice suddenly called him, the absolute being of Sky Devil. He turned to see Second Elder Yorhan, whose dagger pressed against his throat as an overwhelming aura flooded the area. Yorhan stated that he had come to verify Jayok's identity and warned that failure would mean death. A system notification appeared before Jayok's eyes. Quest: the attack of the Second Elder Yorhan. Difficulty SS rank. System messages confirmed it immediately. This was an SSS level quest. As one of the 12 elders, Yorhan excelled at ambushes and covert assassinations, and earning his recognition was mandatory. If the one who claimed to be the absolute ruler failed to gain acknowledgement from even a single elder, his position would become dangerously unstable. Standing here, Jayok felt as though he were caught at the center of an impending cataclysm. His thoughts drifted to his sister. After striking him earlier, she had become the constellation, increasing the likelihood that an absolute evil would emerge in this timeline. If the saints seated upon their thrones did not require level-up points like she did, then those with exceptional talent would grow at an alarming pace. In the worst case, some might even surpass level 90. Facing such beings alone would inevitably result in a continuous chain of SS-level quests. Jayok calmly brushed the blade aside and replied that Yorhan, of all people, should know he was currently unarmed. He questioned why he needed to prove his qualifications at this moment. Yorhan frowned and demanded an explanation. Jayok smiled and closed his eyes. If Yorhan truly intended to kill him, he would not be wasting time with conversation. Yorhan quickly realized that powerful restraints were suppressing Jayok's strength. Jayok admitted it openly. He was weak, so weak that he embodied the very concept of weakness. That was precisely why removing the restrictions took so long. He asked why they were so eager to trample a seed that had barely begun to sprout. If they waited just a little longer, the true absolute ruler would reveal himself. Yorhan listened in silence, his expression dark and unreadable. Protagonist then stated calmly that he would complete the heaven-conquering mind technique left behind by his master. He needed only 10 minutes. Yorhan hesitated. The claim sounded absurd, yet he agreed. Red aura surged around him as he pulled his hood down and dissolved into Jayok's shadow, declaring that he would observe. Exactly 10 minutes. A countdown appeared before Jayok's eyes. He rushed out of the dungeon and into the forest, intending to gather the remaining experience he needed. Yet something was wrong. No monsters appeared. As seconds slipped away, unease tightened around his chest. The timer continued to fall. Due to bad luck, he was always surrounded by monsters, yet the forest was silent. In the last second, Shia whisper protagonist. His sister had finally found him, but she was being chased by a group of black giant bears. Jaehyuk turned in shock, then smiled. She had unknowingly delivered exactly what he needed. He shot past her in a blur, telling her to escape while he handled the rest. In moments, the forest filled with system notifications as the bears fell one after another. His experience reached its limit. His level surged to 40. 3 seconds remained. Yorhan reappeared behind him. Jaehyuk activated the skill. Golden light erupted from his body, hurling Yorhan backward. System messages flooded in as the heaven-conquering mind technique fully awakened and became permanently active. Flames ignited within Jaehyuk's chest, and overwhelming power surged through his body. His stats rose sharply, and his dominance over the Heavenly Devil expanded outward. Titles were confirmed. Heavenly Death Star, Absolute Evil +1. The golden glow faded, replaced by a violent red aura. Every attribute increased by 20%. Skill cooldowns shortened. Maximum health and mana expanded. Absolute evil points began accumulating. Without hesitation, Yorhan dropped to one knee. He admitted his failure to recognize his lord sooner and pledged unwavering loyalty. The second elder's recognition was complete. The SSS level quest concluded successfully. Only one elder remained. Jaehyuk contacted his sister again. She reported widespread chaos. News of an absolute evil had spread, throwing society into panic. Her own stats had surpassed 100 thanks to his influence. Still shaken, she logged out shortly afterward. Jaehyuk turned his attention to the rewards. Salmek had effectively fallen into his hands. Power, resources, and influence would follow naturally. As Yorhan prepared to report on Salmek's current status, he suddenly sensed approaching hostility. A knight in a green cloak rode forward, flanked by a small army. He shouted that whoever killed Ramtadian would receive an unimaginable reward. Jaehyuk crossed his arms, irritation flickering across his face. Are they ever going to stop calling me that? The knight raised his sword and shouted that he was standing alone, daring the others to bring him down. The mounted knight immediately ordered an energy charge, and the axe knights surged toward protagonist. As the heaven-conquering mind technique activated, protagonist quickly assessed their strength and realized that only one among them posed any real threat. Protagonist advanced calmly while knights fell one after another around him. It was his first time fighting knights, yet their low level left him disappointed. The commander attacked recklessly, but Jaehyuk smashed his fist straight into the commander's sword. He was briefly surprised when the blow was blocked, then immediately understood that the man's equipment was unusually good. The commander laughed nervously, assuming Jaehyuk was exhausted. Jaehyuk responded by striking him cleanly on the head, dropping him instantly. System messages appeared, announcing the death of a viscount and the killing of a noble NPC. His absolute evil points increased. Satisfied with how efficiently the mind technique worked, Jaehyuk looked ahead, wondering what reward awaited him, then demanded that anyone else hiding reveal themselves. A man in a black robe stepped out from the forest, introducing himself as a hunter who intended to kill Jaehyuk and turn him into a slave. Purple energy flared as Rupendel emerged from his aura and fell to one knee. The necromancer claimed Jaehyuk would suffer the same fate. Rupendel recognized protagonist immediately and loudly declared his name, mocking the situation. The necromancer raised his hand, and fallen soldiers began to rise. The commander stood again as an undead, his eyes empty and lifeless. The resurrected knights advanced slowly, repeating a single word over and over, Ramadan. Jaehyuk realized the necromancer possessed a rare hidden class. These undead were different from ordinary revived corpses, and even heaven-conquering could not fully measure their strength. The commander pledged his body and soul to the necromancer, releasing a surge of dark power. Without warning, system messages appeared, confirming the activation of the Absolute Evil title. A purple aura spread across all the undead as Jaehyuk seized control of every product of black magic. The heaven-conquering mind technique directly suppressed necromancy, and the necromancer panicked as his authority was stripped away. Further system messages confirmed that Absolute Evil, combined with heaven-conquering, had completely control over black magic. Jaehyuk calmly issued commands. To demonstrate his dominance, he ordered Rupendel to jump 10 times. Overwhelmed by the purple aura, Rupendel obeyed while crying out in despair. The necromancer collapsed in terror and revealed that he was only 19 years old. Jaehyuk spared him, stating that he only killed those who struck first. Grateful to be alive, the necromancer fled without hesitation. Rupendel, shaken to his core, begged for forgiveness and swore absolute loyalty. Jaehyuk accepted casually, amused that he had gained a servant instead of needing a pet to collect items. Outside, a girl emerged from a capsule. She realized that Juhyok's power far exceeded her own necromancy. Remembering her mentor's prophecy about a ruler destined to conquer the world, she regretted not following him. After checking the time on her phone, she panicked and hurried away. After Yorhan soon knelt before Juhyok and revealed everything about Salmak. The organization possessed S-class assassins capable of killing even top imperial knights, conducted brutal recruitment trials, maintained deep ties with powerful nobles, and had accumulated enormous wealth. Salmak's operating funds totaled 2 billion gold, while Yorhan personally controlled 4 billion, bringing the total to 6 billion. System notifications announced the completion of the attack of Yorhan Quest. Juhyok officially gained control of Salmak and received 6 billion gold. Accepting Yorhan's loyalty, he ordered Salmak to remain under Yorhan's leadership and redirected 4 billion gold toward rebuilding Sky Devil Village. Seeing this, Yorhan pledged his unwavering loyalty. Yorhan then warned Juhyok about the third elder, Lexer, the leader of the Black Flowers, a far more dangerous killer who attacked without warning. System messages confirmed that the first and second throne owners had appeared. Juhyok simply smiled, confident with Salmak under his control and his sister seated on the seventh throne. Later, Xia urgently contacted him, explaining that she had met someone important. Sitting in a cafe and smiling at her phone, she suddenly noticed a girl standing in front of her and called out her name. Mariana turned around, smiled warmly, and asked if she had been kept waiting. Xia and Mariana were seated in a cafe when a stranger suddenly stepped up and held his phone toward Mariana. He boldly told her she matched his ideal type and asked for her number. Mariana immediately frowned, apologized, and said she was not interested. Embarrassed, the man rubbed the back of his head and walked away. Mariana turned to Xia and complained that she could not understand how someone could label a complete stranger as their ideal. She said she disliked people who tried to approach her based only on looks. Xia smiled and replied that Mariana was beautiful enough for love at first sight to happen naturally, then honestly added that Mariana still seemed afraid of men. Mariana snapped back defensively, blushing as she insisted she did not have such a problem and had never experienced love. Xia laughed and teased her, saying she had been known as the Ice Princess back at the academy, and that anyone who knew her then would be shocked to see her now. Annoyed, Mariana accused her sister of being cruel. Xia then gently asked how she had been doing lately. Mariana hesitated, saying she would only tell her, before admitting that things had been difficult recently. After opening up, Mariana thanked Xia sincerely and left, waving goodbye and reminding her to get home safely. Once alone, Xia realized the seriousness of what she had heard and decided she could not delay. She contacted Protagonist and hurried home, so they could speak without being overheard. Still out of breath, she explained that Mariana had shared sensitive information. Everyone believed absolute evil fought the saints alone, yet certain classes existed to support absolute evil. Mariana possessed one of those rare hidden classes, known as the Absolute Necromancer. Juhyok acknowledged this, and said the information was extremely valuable. Xia explained that she trusted him because she and Mariana were close. She then listed the reasons she had already suspected the truth about him: his 20 years of mysterious training, his sudden appearance, the black monsters following him, his abnormal growth rate, and his conquest of the seventh throne. Juhyok admitted that he had always known she would eventually connect the dots. Xia clarified that she had not revealed Juhyok's identity as absolute evil to Mariana, nor mentioned that she herself was the seventh saint, since exposing such secrets could put them in danger. She reminded him that although she was a saint, she stood on his side and was already deeply involved. She then told him she had arranged a meeting and insisted that he meet Mariana in person. The following day in the Leper Mountains, Protagonist arrived wearing a mask to avoid drawing attention. He recalled that Mariana was 19, had left the academy to study necromancy, and was only level 14. It still seemed unbelievable, especially when he remembered Rupendel, a level 50 player he had previously encountered. Soon, he spotted his sister waving beside a masked young woman. When they approached, Juhyok realized she was the absolute necromancer he had met before. Mariana greeted him cheerfully, calling him uncle. Juhyok jokingly asked if she imagined him as some short, elderly man. She asked how she should address him, and he told her she could decide for herself. When questioned about her rough manner of speaking earlier, Mariana admitted she had deliberately lowered her voice to suit her role as a necromancer. Xia joined them, surprised to learn they were already acquainted. Mariana smiled and remarked that their meeting felt like fate. At that point, Xia revealed the truth: Juhyok was absolute evil, and she herself was the seventh saint. Mariana froze, stunned into silence. Before angrily confronting Xia for hiding something so important, Xia apologized, explaining that it involved her brother's private matters. Mariana immediately panicked about her appearance, lamenting that she should have dressed properly to meet her best friend's brother. Protagonist accepted it calmly, privately thinking that despite his sister's praise, Mariana still looked more like a child than an ice princess. Protagonist then grew serious and redirected the conversation, stating that none of this was the real issue. He explained that Mariana herself was meant to become absolute evil and had received the same quest. Mariana confirmed it and pulled out a scroll, explaining that it was a legacy left behind by her teacher. When Jahayok opened it and saw what was inside, he realized it was a map and was left speechless. If you're excited for the next part, leave a comment and I'll do my best to bring it to you as soon as possible.